What is the dumbest idea you have ever had that actually worked? In university I was late on an assignment that was supposed to be in my teaching assistant's Dropbox by noon that day. I didn't manage to get there until almost 3, so I was sure he had already emptied it. Now, the Dropboxes were literal boxes in cubbies with a slot on the front, and a lock on them that prevented them from being pulled out. The rack holding them was just a basic metal frame with about 5 rows of boxes. My teaching assistant's box was somewhere in the middle of the shelf. So I figured, I'm late anyways, why not take a chance? And slipped my assignment into the box below my teaching assistant's box. I got my assignment handed back a few weeks later than everyone else, and it had a note from another teaching assistant scribbled on it that said, "Looks like this fell into my box by mistake." I got full marks on the assignment. Real estate told me I had to have the carpets professionally cleaned, wasn't in the contract, or I'd lose my $800 bond. I did some research, and found out I could become an accredited carpet cleaner as there are no official licensing boards in my state. So, I did what any sane person would do. I paid the $85, did the online course, and got my certificate, registered a business name, ABN etc. All free, handed the property management a copy of my accreditation, and an invoice for services. I became a professional carpet cleaner, and launched a vacate cleaning business that is still going 6 months later. Also to add, I did clean the carpets. They claimed I didn't, and required a professional cleaner's invoice as proof, so I gave them the proof. I did not charge the real estate agency, it was a copy of the invoice they claimed to require. I do professional housekeeping and cleaning for vacating a property at the end of lease to ensure you get maximum bond back. I help people who are being unfairly treated by their property management, and advise them on what steps to take in regards to cleaning, repairs etc. With the return of the bond, and some smart shopping, I was able to purchase my own equipment to continue the job. I then claimed those costs back on tax. See. In college my buddy and I took an investing class, and for one of the projects we had a month to invest fake dollars into the stock market, and see which team would have the most money after a month. It was spring semester, so we put all of our fake money into Heinz, thinking there would be a spike in ketchup and mustard sales as the weather got warmer. The next day, Berkshire Hathaway purchased the entire Heinz company, and the professor accused us of insider trading. We had no idea what we were doing. Also, to clarify, we didn't actually get in trouble for insider trading, but the professor came over to us before the next class, and was like, "What happened here?" We explained it, and she thought it was funny, but said we would definitely be investigated for insider trading if this was real money. I once faked being sick when I was in middle school, and told my mom I had a sore throat, and felt a cold coming on. She took me to the doctor, and it turned out that I did, in fact, have strep throat lol. In college I was taking a class that required me to purchase an online textbook and workbook that was registered under your name, basically ensuring that each student would have to buy a new online copy each semester instead of buying used textbooks. I had a friend who took this class a semester before me, so we came up with the idea to message customer service and explain that I had recently gotten married, so my last name had changed, and I legally changed my first name from my friend's first name to my first name, and I would need them to change it in their system. It totally worked, and the rep even congratulated me on my marriage. Back in high school, I stopped by one of my teacher's rooms after class to ask him some questions about our homework. When I walked in, I noticed he was grading some of our tests. Of note, all of his tests were made up of multiple choice, true/false, or matching, and all of the answers were bubbled in. What I noticed was that instead of using an answer key to grade, he was just placing a stencil over the paper with the correct bubble punched out. The stencil wasn't transparent, so all it showed was whether we bubbled in the right answer or not. Flash forward to our next test, and I'm stuck on a TF question. Knowing how he graded, I figured I'd bubble in both T and F, and if he caught it, it would be easy enough to claim it was an accident. Well, he didn't catch it, and I used that trick the rest of the year for a little extra boost on all of his tests. I stuck my neck out for an ex-con on house arrest at my job. He interviewed well, but his availability was horrible between the ankle bracelet and meeting with his PO, drug treatment program, etc. My GM said no, and I said I'm doing it anyway. The first night he worked there, I found myself in a bind. He was the only person scheduled in the kitchen from 8 p. to 10 p, and I had no one who knew the kitchen besides myself, because our store had a wicked virus traveling around. I told him, "Look, dude, we're pretty screwed back here, and I'm going to try to keep my cool, but I can't promise. And because I'm the only manager on duty, I might have to run to the front/drive-through. Well, this guy mastered production in about an hour. He was faster than my GM on the grills and fryers, and his attitude was so good. I waited on nothing, and he even tried to help me make sandwiches and send them out. He also managed to clean up the entire kitchen. He eventually moved to maintenance and fixed all the crap the previous guy ignored in a day. Then he moved to service for more hours when the hour restrictions came off, and was great with the Karens. My GM got over the ankle bracelet, record, and tattoos, and actually hired him for his house flipping business. All because I said we need freaking employees, and you can't be picky when he's the only guy I've interviewed in a month. Some people wondered why I consider this a dumb decision. Our background check wasn't exhaustive in detail to us. It said red, yellow, green, and we usually tossed all the red ones in favor of green or yellow. I had no clue going into the interview, or the hire, what his offenses were. He chose to disclose to me why his availability sucked. I did not ask. I don't know the legality of asking, but he didn't disclose his record to me, and I had to go with my gut. In fast food you get a lot of teenagers as customers and employees. You get a lot of skeezy people, record or not. You have to consider the safety of the children as well as the quality of the worker you are introducing to the workplace. An ex-con is a wild card when you don't know exactly what they were in for. And again, I'm not sure the legality of me asking. After I got to know him on a personal level, he shared his record. Drug abuse led to a bunch of felonies, and he was released early on house arrest for good behavior. But again, I knew none of this as I hired. He was a great hire. He is a great man. He was the kids' defender when people chose to berate my teenager cashiers. He was a great influence on the kids, a real do as I say, and not as I did kinda guy who was painfully honest about what he lost to drugs, but he also could have been a real angry man who enjoyed fighting people, and stealing. I used to know a guy who, every week, would order his Saturday night curry for delivery while sitting in the pub, and then walk over the road to the curry house, and get it, and himself delivered home. This went on for about 10 to 12 weeks. One week, we were sitting having a pint, and the owner of the curry house walked in, took his order, and had him picked up from the pub. He said it was easier for everyone concerned. At college was at a friend's house on the other side of town, was very late, and the buses had stopped, so my only way home was to call a cab. This was before Uber. I was also really hungry, so, because I only had about $10, my choice was either get some takeout, and walk for an hour to get home at night, or call a cab, and go hungry. Then eureka! I went into the Chinese takeout place, and asked for a delivery to my home address, and asked for a ride home. They protested at first, but I explained that me hitching a ride was no extra cost for them. They agreed and I got a free ride home, and a Chinese takeout. Also, as many of you guessed, this was a long time ago, about 17 years ago in fact. The delivery guy had some other deliveries in the car, so he didn't go out just for me. And yes, I tipped the guy, but had to run into my apartment first to get a handful of quarters. I used a soap bottle as a makeshift sink plunger. Bobcat tire blew during a job. Had another tire, but no jack. Positioned the Bobcat behind a dump truck. Bobcat then tries to lift the ass end of the dump truck. Dump truck hella heavy. Bobcat lifted itself instead, tire changed, and back to work. Put Jesus in as Wi-Fi password in church. It worked. Bet my husband I could fix the dent in the car with a plunger. It worked. Edit. It is clear I should have used a massive suction sex toy instead. Till. Far from the dumbest working idea in the thread, but I once got an extra day to work on a video project in high school by coming to class with a video that was just a quarter second of blackness, eagerly volunteering to go first, then acting confused and scared when the file didn't work. The teacher took pity on me, and told me to just bring it the following day, and I got to finish it that evening, and still got full credit as if I did it on time. Breaking into my own house through the kitchen window using a piece of wire and a wooden table after I was locked out. Not my idea, but my mom's. I dropped one of my earrings, and couldn't find it, so she threw my other earring on the floor, and it happened to land next to the first one. I did an undergrad in some weird mashup of electrical/computer engineering, math, physics, and comp sci. Had to do a project or thesis at the end. I couldn't write for crap, so opted for the project. Except, I couldn't actually do anything good for crap, so I invented the 9-bit byte. Took me all of 5 minutes to think up. Normal, read, all, computers are based on binary, bytes link 1 in description, are 8 binary bits, and blah blah. Well, I had the courage to ask why they couldn't just be 9 bits. It's really more complicated than that. But you'll see I didn't care for complication if you read on. Instead of learning crap like 0.0001001, binary, equals 9 decimal, why not just say 100 million? The 1 is 9 spaces over, equals 9 decimal. Then humans could read it. This is perverting everything about binary, and architectures based on it. But whatever, who cares if saying 28, decimal, equals 11,100 in binary or 0.0001001000000 in my scheme, and was incredibly wasteful. And I went on to build a CPU that could process them that was ridiculously stupid, wrote my small paper about it. Professor commended me for thinking outside the box, and gave me a great mark, but told me to never tell anyone else about this stupid idea, so of course now I'm telling everything here. I am a poor student living in Germany. Students are required by law to have health insurance. The university will expel you if you don't have health insurance. The lowest rate I could get was about €189, $208, a month. I usually don't even spend that much on food. There was just no way that I could pay such a high rate. I wrote my insurer countless letters and emails explaining how there was no way that I could pay €189. They refused to lower my rate, explaining how they are just following the law. They even informed my university that I had failed to pay health insurance. The university then threatened me to exmatriculate me. In my desperation, I wrote the German Ministry of Health. I explained myself, and asked them to talk to my insurer. A week later I received a letter from my insurer informing me that they had cut my rate to a mere €89 a month, and that this reduction was applicable to all month prior. My rate is about to go up again, but this time I should be able to manage. Edit. I got my high school degree by attending evening seminars when I was in my mid-20s. I worked a number of years after I received my high school degree. I started university when I turned 30, therefore, I am not eligible for student rates or government loans. BAföG. Most students in Germany pay a significantly lower rate. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.